Welcome to ARPA. The time is 10:03, it's July 3rd. Roll call.
Paul?
Yeah.
Crowe? Present. Awful? Here. Ducat?
Yep. Let's approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Can I get a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All approved, same sign. Motion passes. Public comments. All right, moving on to public comments. Discuss, review, and take action on ARPA applications. Number 99, Lexington Park District. Cheryl? Sherry?
Hi guys. Is it matter where I'm at or not?
Wherever you'd like to sit.
I would like to sit here. If I'm always.
It's great to see you.
Thank you. So lots happened since the last time I was here. I gave you guys 8 million copies of things the last time I was here and talked elaborately about all of our plans and everything. Since that time, we have actually put the project out for bid and we got 2 bids back. And of those 2 bids, we've accepted 1. Yeah, 2 bids back, and we accepted 1. This project, we had guesstimated ourselves at around $450,000. Wow, was that an underestimate? The bid that we accepted was for $565,000. The next closest bid was $99,000 away from that. So I have 2 bids for you. That includes all the electrical, the mechanical, and the plumbing. So fingers crossed they won't find anything else that they need to.
Does that include all your cement?
Yeah, it's
Everything.
inclusive, it's everything. So I guess that's not a horrible bid, but that's a lot of money, so.
Yeah.
No, I brought copies for you guys to see. So not accepted, accepted. And from there, I guess I can just answer questions.
I need copies.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
I need copies for you. So you're still asking for 200,000
Correct.
and you have how much that you're putting into the project? How are you funding the balance of the project?
We have $250,000 that's spoken for through the bank. And then the rest of it will come from what we saved in capital from the park district.
So you're getting a loan for 200, is that what you say through the bank?
Yes, it's a low interest loan that we had done when we originally purchased the building.
Okay, and then what have you got set aside in funds?
200,000. So we left ourselves a little bit of squeak room there for anything that pops up. Hopefully nothing will pop up.
Oh,
She just took them. Jill went to the office.
I saw it.
And I don't know if you saw, last time I was in here, I brought in stacks
Oh, yeah.
and copies and all that kind of stuff.
I wasn't here.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think, for that meeting. I think I missed you.
But basically the just in a nutshell, when you go into the building, the initial front part of it will have a classroom and it will have open space. It'll have a climbing wall in it. It'll have a kitchen. It'll have actually 3 bathrooms. And then as you go through that portion of the building to the back portion of the building, it'll have a pickleball, basketball, archery, and 4-square court setup, an observation area to watch those things, and it'll have a weight room and a tech room.
Tech room has like, computer room.
Computers, TV, but it'll also be covered in Legos. So it can be something that's built upon and.
Okay. But this does not include the asphalt parking lot.
It does not
That's an
include-
additional option.
Right, it does not include the asphalt parking lot, and according to what my understanding is, as long as we added one spot for handicap parking, which is what that asphalt part would be, we should be good, and I'm trying to negotiate with them right now because there's an apron in front of the building, which I would like to see us turn into an actual handicap spot. But
This is the Nichols building.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, 110 South Second Street, so it's actually a block over from where we're at. It's multi-generational, the whole point of it is so that people can come in there and do a variety of things. So if you wanted to go in and play pickleball and you had children or grandchildren, they could be doing something else at the same time. And you're in the same building space, but, you know, not underfoot, not having to worry about them, I guess would be a good way to phrase it.
Is plumbing included in above on Martin's? It's not, it's separated out on.
Well, both of them are separated out, but then that final cost, Charlie, includes everything. Because I did specifically ask them that in both cases.
Right. Mhm. That's right. You're right. Yeah. I see that.
If we come back and say,
This is a question. I believe the answer will go ahead and for that. Figure out that price is. That's what we're stuck at.
so we have this and this.
This is We're trying to keep it in town.
So are you overhearing what we're?
Oh.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, so, CY Construction from Gibson City, John from Watsika, which is near Clay County. We're trying to keep all the money that we're using for ARPA, if at all possible, within the county. As we're talking, like this, you go back to Martin and say, match it.
Pretty sure that won't happen.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. I totally understand what you're saying. That way the money that we're using for ARPA actually stays within the county to do this. The second thing is, in my eyes, we won't be able to make a decision on anything until we're finding out to where the county morgue is going and what that's going to cost to get that built. So I'm just trying to get numbers together, figure out how to put everybody in or do what we can do.
Where's the like construction out of?
Gibson City?
I thought he was from System. Oh, he's out of System. I thought.
No, that's what it's in the city.
Where? 15's Ward County.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Where does it say Gibson City?
it doesn't on its paperwork, you look them up, it's on the city. CY Construction is out of, Business City, Illinois.
I thought it was from Chesapeake.
Matter of fact, CY Construction's out of Rossville.
Well, I get that, but at the same time, when you're spending $100,000 more, $99,000 more, it didn't seem like, because we had the same discussion, my board did. And my logic to $99,000 is a huge amount of money. And if something extra came up and you're all in with the 654, you got nothing. But if you're at the 565, you still had, 99,000 before you. I understand both sides of that, but
So you're saying the, 664 just about kills the project
oh yeah.
and,
Well, and I don't know that.
565 lets you live.
And the other part of it is I think a lot of the variation in that, what I don't know this for a fact, but what my guess would be is because CY Construction, pretty much everybody that works for them owns their own company. So they're not having to do that prevailing wage, which is, as we all know, a killer. It kills us. Kills us here in Iroquois County, but it kills us as a state actually. So I think that savings is probably in prevailing wage money.
It has to be a lot of money.
Well, it'll all be prevailing wage, but what I'm saying is I think that number of employees
Right.
versus number of employees that would be receiving the prevailing wage.
Some of those, what we would call subcontractors, have few enough employees
Exactly.
that they fall under the statute that requires prevailing wage. I'd like to have clarified, and I'm just wondering if you could hang out and go make a phone call. Could you find out for us exactly where Clint Young is out of? Because that's a fairly common name. I wanna make sure we're talking about.
He's originally from Cissna, but I do believe he lives in Rossville at this present
Okay.
time.
His
Yes.
family's still here.
Yes, his parents and all that. When he did he actually had done the outside of our building, and he was the only one that did the outside of our building for the siding that we have on it currently. And he did such quality work. We saw him bid again. We're very excited about that. Nothing against Martin Construction, but we were just familiar with him because, you know what I'm saying.
Well, you're not for sure that we wouldn't go down in his price, and maybe if you ask him, let him know that we wanna stick with Iroquois County.
I'm sorry, I didn't read that.
She's asking if I'll talk to Martin Construction and see if he will drop his price.
How much did you get in CARE grants?
Pardon?
How much did you get in CARE grants? Sorry.
Yeah, because it hit me at that time. Like 14,000. That pretty much covered everything that we spent for, everything for COVID. I hate saying that word out loud.
Jill, we had a big long discussion, excuse me, I'm going to turn right here for a minute here,
That's fine.
about the morgue money. We did not do a resolution for a sum. I made a motion, it was withdrawn. So we have no money, I know you hate the word, earmarked for the morgue.
Yeah.
What number were we tossing about? What number did I throw out there for my motion? Like
Well,
150?
the application is for 260,000,
Right.
and I think I don't know, we'd have to,
We'd have to look in the
but I
minutes
think,
because
I don't know why 256 in my head. But his application is for $260,000.
That sounds good. Okay. We don't have any prices.
I'll try to look at it.
Okay, sorry, I needed to take that.
No,
into
you're
work
fine.
For mathematical purposes.
It's okay.
In the meantime, would you call him and see, just find out
Just give some
if he's willing or not?
Okay, so I'll find that out and let you know, and
So let's meet again next month.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it next month.
Well, may I make a suggestion? You're getting towards the end and you're looking at how much money you have left in your application. So instead of telling people, hey, we're gonna look at it next month, why don't you come back? I think you need a working
do some-
meeting.
Yeah,
So you
we'll
can
do
do some, you can take a look at what we have left and how much we can afford to award each entity if you so choose. With the knowledge that the county still has a major project that they need to take care of.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I don't mean to step on your toes, but I hate for,
I mentioned that
people have to
already.
come back and,
I would like to see us do a working meeting prior to the regular August meeting. What have you been
and that way when you ask people to come back.
Yeah, real.
Yeah,
And,
So,
what are we gonna tell Sherry?
at this point, Sherry, thank you. Are you financially wise? I'm sorry, financially? If it works out, I'll just put it that, way, if it works out $115,000, we'll get you where you need to be with the 65.
it would certainly help.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to,
No, I mean,
You
when
get
I
where I'm
say,
going.
oh my gosh, no, if you're looking to give me that,
Well-
forget this, no, we
Well-
would never do that. No,
no,
I
the
would
point
never
of
do
being
that.
though, I'm just trying to,
no,
it's a numbers game now, it's what it is.
get you.
It's pretty stuff that's.
Always nice.
This year. Still beyond next month, I should say, next month or earlier. That's going to be a working, we're going to go through
225.
applications. So,
That's
what?
money that I tried.
Sit tight. And also talk to John Martin, see if he will match, because he's in the county. I'm just going to say an answer.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you
All
so much
right,
for your
I
time.
appreciate it, thank you guys.
Have a happy 4th and be safe.
You too. See you
Great
guys.
seeing you.
Thanks, Sherry.
All right, 113 Richland Township, he is not here. We're still working on a pricing to buy the building next door. So we'll put him on for 5 minutes after we're working. Number 49, Affordable Arts.
Unfortunately, Chicago, Illinois was the closest place I could get another bid. I spent days, hours trying to find another masonry within Iroquois County. I called the number that you guys suggested.
Mhm.
That lady said the guy that did hers is no longer in the business. She was very nice about it. She goes, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I said, I understand. As you can see, that bid from Chicago, Illinois is double, more than double what the other bid is. And there's no way he can even start work until summer of next year. Which, personally, I don't want to use somebody out of Chicago.
We don't either.
I mean, the other one is a local guy out of Donovan, I think is actually his address, and the bid was half. I will say the gentleman out of Chicago did this by measurements and pictures. He didn't even come down. Told me he didn't have time. If I could send him pictures and measurements, he would bid it. It's 20-some thousand. Then you should have a right concrete. You should have a Morrison Benoit and a right concrete, and then the one that I brought in last time with masonry. Right.
I'm just a little concerned about this Chicago thing because,
I'm a lot
I
concerned
can't
about it.
remember which one.
I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not
Someone
using
got
somebody out of
scammed.
Chicago.
Somebody got scammed and lost some of the money that was given.
I'm a local, I'm not using somebody, I'm a local business, I want people to stay local, so I'm gonna stay local.
So you have one from Right?
Yeah, I can, they're on my, I mean, I can't reprint it right now, but I know they're on my email.
Is that Right Concrete,
Chad Wright,
Chad?
I did Chad Wright and then Morrison Benoit, which is tailored.
So we've got Morrison Benoit and that's attached to the application.
Yeah, I got this
14,335, and what's Chad Wright?
Check it forward.
Or just give me the amount. I'm just making a note of it.
So where'd you come up with this 45,000?
Well, those were previous bids, but then I had to get new bid. My old bids were that. But there was a guy, a masonry that used to be in the county who no longer does the work anymore.
And her bids were over a year.
They were, yeah, they were almost 18 months, maybe even
So
close.
it's less.
Yes. Well, not if you take the guy from Chicago.
No.
Did we ask you last time how much your PPP loan was?
6,000. Oh, it's not working in here. Copy.
Ooh, more paper.
Copy.
Paper try. Here's your original.
This, this, this,
I know that Chad was a couple $1,000s more than Morrison Benoit. I might have to step outside. Don't have the greatest service in this room. I know that Chad was like right around $2,000 more than Morrison Benoit. They were very comparable in price. And as far as who does the work on that, they're both local, they both do good work. I've already been talking to our city because of the concrete work that's in that. We have to have approval to do so far of the city's, the expansion drain, which I explained that last time, and I'm not a concrete person, so I don't know much about it. But that goes into the city sidewalk, so I've already started dealing with the city on that. Here we go. Rice was $13.9, so they were actually the cheaper one. I knew they were very comparable. And they have an exclusion of no winter protections, whatever that means. I'm pretty sure I gave you guys this. Can I send this to?
Yeah, you send it to
Send it to Jill. I don't have
I think she
right.
said she was going to get it. I think she'll have it.
She has it? Okay.
So she was going to get it now.
Now, what exclusion does he have on
It
this?
says no winter protection. I don't know what that means.
You need to verify that one.
Says tear out and haul away existing concrete specified area, prep and pour, 5x8, 6x6, meet existing thickness, reinforced with wire mesh sealer applied upon completion, and all excess fill will be hauled off of site, which I know that because I'm a business. And it says exclusions, no winter protection.
Is that, did you have the sealant?
No, if you want to send that to me.
It was?
Perhaps a seal, perhaps a seal.
Well, it said it'd be sealed.
Oh, it did?
I wonder if that just means he wouldn't pour it for me. I don't know how easy they are.
You gotta get a certain temperature.
To
For more concrete, I do know that.
JJ. Had your coin, or CO.
Well, if I could just,
I yelled
Oh,
at
that's something.
Sorry, my.
You're fine, in there for a minute.
Does anyone else have any more questions for her?
I sent it to you right now.
You had any money set back or anything?
Very little.
How much is little?
There's about $11,000, but I really want to use that to replace all the windows in my store.
Understandable.
I mean, my building's old and I hate to say this, it's had empty for 25 years. I bought it from the dentist in town, and as far as buildings in Milford, they're not there to be had. I mean, I tried to buy a bigger building, there's no buildings there, so I want to preserve what we have.
What is the folding arms? I mean, what do you?
It's a boutique and I do custom screen printing also. Like cups, shirts.
T-shirts, embroidery work, sweatshirts.
How long you been in business?
I have been, in this location, we bought this building in 2017. Years ago, I rented a store and the people I rented it, the building is actually no longer there, they didn't take care of it, so I moved the business back home. Said I'd be home for a year, and 7 years later, I was still there.
It's working for you.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. All right, well, we'll be looking at everything in the next working meeting. And
And
then,
she has the estimate now for us.
yes, thank you. Yes, that's what now.
If it takes, I was gonna say if you,
I sent you my email too.
okay. I don't have very good service in here, so it might go through one of
Thank
the
you, that's business we need to.
Thank you.
see this, did you? Hold on, let me find it for you.
If it's in your days, I
Yeah. Yeah,
They don't do that applications.
so. 164 feeding time. Dave?
I would like to make a note to look at this one again after our working meeting, number 49. Okay. Which one are we on? I've lost my-
64 feeding
I've
time.
lost my agenda. Jeez, Louise.
We need some paper.
These are the ones we're looking at today.
Dave, you want to go ahead and present and tell us about your company?
Yeah, me and my wife own feeding time feeds and Shabans, just outside of Shabans. And I don't have any bids, I'm not sure what I needed to do or whatever, but, we're needing a new roof and some doors, possibly adding on. I mean, I can get bids if that's what we need to do.
We'll need bids from you, but, this one's really bad. So it's what, feeding time for horses, cattle, hogs?
Yeah, all livestock and pets, cats, dogs. We've added a couple different companies onto us, is why we're thinking about, I mean, we're kind of crammed in there now too.
Employees that you have?
Yeah, it's all family, we're all done by family. I know I could get like bids from like Clary and Wharton that's in Iroquois County, you know.
Stick with
Our,
Iroquois County.
our building is a tool shed basically now, so it would work all right. My wife kind of runs that, but I think we've been there for 17 years. Been open for 17 years.
Okay, then. Get that next line.
What exactly are you needing?
We need a new roof. We'd like to add on too, but, you know, it just depends on what bids come in at it. I don't know how it works, if we need to pay a percent of it or what.
Well, there's no prescribed formula for that, but we get to the point with funds, we're at the end. And so if you could prioritize what your greatest need was and come back to us with a quote on that specific, you mentioned roof.
Mhm.
So I have no idea how big your building is or, you know, what, if, because you had asked for some on your, you know, application,
Mhm.
that would surely be more than the cost of a roof, right?
Yeah, I would.
Maybe we could, and I'm not saying yes, cause I wanna say again, we are at the end and it's getting a little, it's getting very tight.
I would say, Dave, go get 2 bids for the roof, email them to Joe. And then we can put that with the application. And then in the future, if we can find a way, that it works out, then we'll call you if we can.
The, from what we've seen, probably an addition is, I'm just gonna guess way exceed.
Yeah, the way it is now, yeah.
Do you have any money set back or anything like that that could help you out?
Yeah, I mean,
Probably.
I got some money, yes, I need
To contribute to the
to,
project.
yeah.
So if we had, say if we had $10,000-12,000 to help you with, you would be acceptable to anything for the
Yeah.
county? Okay. Okay.
Let's see what's good is.
Right.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
I know.
Jill, do you have anything from your standpoint? All right. Anything, Charlie? All right, finish them and do.
Mhm, thank you.
Did you get 2 bids for us for the roof?
Yeah.
And then let us know
Oh,
what they
okay,
are, okay?
thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Bill.
yeah, Bill. Sure.
So we've got Schaumburg's 48, isn't it?
Yeah, I just find it now. All right, Schaumburg's fine trim, 48.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Quentin, it looks like you're asking for 42.5 for a new concrete pad for customer parking and to update your new addition for the showroom. So because, I'm just gonna ask you flat out if that's still your request in light of the position. You've gone to sort of full-time teacher, I understand you're still doing this during the summer and so is your request still the same?
Not so much for the addition anymore, but I'd still like to get the concrete pad for it, so when somebody does come visit my shop, they've got a place to park that's not wet gravel or,
Okay, so just to cut to the chase, what's that gonna cost? And
unfortunately, I didn't bring either bid with me.
do you
I've only got
have
one.
bids? Oh, you have one?
Yeah, so I gotta get another one. Wonderful wife informed me of that the last time.
How much? Who is your first bid with?
Chad Wright,
And do you remember off the top of your head?
it was just under 19,000. It was like 8,720, something like 18,720, something like that.
Okay, and the concrete pad size is still 60 by 30?
Yes. That covers the whole front of my shop.
Just get the picture in my head.
Yeah, you've driven by there a few times.
Might even pick up some kids there.
Yeah, once or twice.
Well, I think, yeah, I'm sorry. He's our chairman, I don't want to talk over him.
Go ahead.
Well, we need a second bid for sure, and I just want to reiterate that we're getting to the bottom of the barrel.
How much money do you have saved up for this?
Right now I've got a little over 6. Because I was gonna do most of the work myself, but I'm not gonna do that if I get enough money to not have to.
What do you understand?
Okay. Love to send you out of here some money today, and,
How much do you think you want to do?
oh. Good question.
That is a great question, because I don't remember. That's been a while ago.
Let's do this, can you send us an email with the second bid?
I'll send both bids.
Fantastic, and then also send us how much you got, you know, so we know that.
Absolutely.
Jill, is there anything else you can think of at this moment?
No, this time.
Thank you so much for coming in.
I'll just get that information,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
email. Alrighty.
I will see you beginning of next month.
Well, maybe, wait for notification.
Next month's the working,
We're gonna work as a committee.
Oh.
and then hopefully the following one.
Okay.
Amanda will be in contact, I'll send it their question back.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Audrey's got email information already, so
Okay,
that'll
perfect,
work.
thank you.
Thank you much.
Have a good boy.
Donna, so affordable arts and they're the same, they have two different businesses and they're together.
One's his, one's hers.
Village of Buckley Sewer Plant.
Come on down.
And Jill, that's legitimate, they're at two different addresses, totally separate.
But the same thing as the husband.
Buckley Sewer. Could you gentlemen might have been here before and I'm sorry, so could you give us your names?
My name's Evan Shockley, I'm the mayor, and I brought along our engineer, his name's Larry Johnson.
And your name might be on here someplace. Oh,
No good.
this is a big project.
So I'm here.
Now, what was the engineer? Oh, he's handing out funds. Thank you.
We'll see.
Thank you. So do you mind if I hand out some background
Yeah, go ahead.
information about the
It's fine.
project?
So you don't have two bids because you've already planned for time to go ahead and go with this gentleman here to do the project, correct?
Yes, sir. He's been with the village for 50 years.
Off and on.
Off and on.
Thank you. I could start off again. I'm Larry Johnson, and I'm with the consulting engineering firm, that's Fair Graham. I've been doing wastewater treatment projects for 5 decades. The city of Waseca's wastewater treatment plant was designed by me, so it's been working for 20 years, so you have to say that I didn't stumble on that one. Been helping Buckley since the 1970s. And back in 1977, they initiated a sanitary sewer system project in hopes of taking advantage of some of the grant funds that were available federally back in those days. They went so far as to design the system and take bids. But then funding started to dry up. Initially, it was going to be an 80% grant to do the project. By the time they dropped the project, it had deteriorated to only 55% of the cost of the project. And so the residents decided that that was going to generate too high a sewer bill in order to borrow what they weren't able to get by a grant. So in 1981, I believe they voted to stop the project at that point in time. Since then, off and on, different mayors have been interested in trying to pick that project up again and move it forward. Mayor Shockley is in his second term, and I think he initiated it in his first term to try to stir up some interest in resurrecting that project, finishing the design, and funding and building sanitary sewers. Now, why would anybody pursue sewers for 40 years? The soils in Buckley are not unlike the rest of the county. They're just not well suited for septic tanks and leach fields. And the Public Health Department has rules on permitting new septic tanks and leach fields. And what that ends up resulting in, many of the lots in Buckley are too small to support properly sized septic tank and leach field. And so they limp along with whatever they happen to have, which sometimes isn't even a septic tank. And there's been numerous complaints of raw sewage on the surface of the ground, children playing near it or in it. I mean, just the kinds of things that, curl the hair on the back of their neck, here. And obviously the mayor is saddled with trying to resolve those kinds of problems. And when he learned that there was a project on the boards that would resolve these issues once and for all, he started conducting public hearings and informing all of his constituents what the problem was and how it might be reconciled finally. And then he decided not to run again. His successor picked up the flag and carried it forward for 4 more years, trying to get funding, trying to get interest generated. And then COVID really tripped everything up, and the mayor came back on board, and Mayor Shockley, and said, doggone it, now they're handing out infrastructure money, maybe there's an opportunity here finally to push this project forward with, an affordable price tag. And so that's where we are today, except that it's a double-edged sword when there's infrastructure money available. Contractors suddenly aren't hungry anymore, and bids are coming in higher than they would under normal circumstances. So you probably haven't heard this before, but all the budgets...
You say that tongue in cheek, right?
Yeah. All the budgets are just busted because of that. So if I could flip through some of this information, which is, just generic kinds of stuff that I handed out. On the back of the first page, there's an overview, and it sort of shows the 1977 sewer system plan that was put together and some of the background information. The page below that overview sheet shows a GIS photo of Buckley, and it also shows, if you read real closely, if your eyes are good, that southeast of town is where the wastewater treatment plant site is scheduled to be. And technology has advanced. The requirements for wastewater treatment are more stringent today than they were back in 1977. So we're going to have to put more work into treating the wastewater before we discharge it. So everything is escalating our bottom line. One of the things we recently stumbled on was, in order to get power to that remote site, it's probably going to be $250,000 worth of funding to bring the power down to that wastewater treatment plant site from CIPS. So everything just keeps bumping our budget. And if you flip the next page, it's a little better view of that, remote site down southeast of Buckley. But the rubber meets the road in the following page. We have a grant and loan, kind of a budgeted amount that is actually outdated right now. but I thought I'd spend a minute to go through these line items and explain to you where we are today. We budgeted construction costs at just under $7 million for this project, with some 10% contingencies, and then it shows all of the overhead, design, construction, engineering, legal and admin. We have to get easements everywhere, so there's quite a bit of legal work involved. So our budgeted project cost was just under $9 million. Just recently, the village of Buckley was awarded a Rebuild Illinois grant from the state of Illinois for $5 million. They were one of 3 communities in the entire state to score high enough that they deserved some extra funding for their sewer treatment plant. And I couldn't have been more surprised, because we pretty much had been pursuing funding for a long time without very much luck, so that kind of kick-started the possibility of bringing this project finally to fruition. That amount subtracted from $9 million meant that we were probably going to have to borrow from EPA nearly $4 million. Now, EPA has a program wherein you have to borrow what you need, but depending on how you score on a need basis financially, they'll forgive some of the loan. Now, they used to call it grants, but now the new term is principal forgiveness, which is a little more of an accurate description of what's going on. So when this handout was produced, we were going to have to borrow about $4 million. Principal forgiveness would reduce that by 30%, so we only had to pay back about $2.8 million of the $4 million that we were going to borrow. Sounds like a great deal, right? Why is Buckley sitting here asking for more money? They are so fortunate to be in this position, you would think. The kicker is, inflation has driven costs upward. We think that this budget is probably as much as $2 million a meeting. We might have to find another $2 million to do what we're doing. And so before we can jump ahead and finally start a project and build it, we need to find more funding than this. In addition to inflation, it's listed here that the loan that we can get from EPA is 0.73%. Cross that off. As of July the 1st, they've raised that number to 1.16% with all the incentives so it's nearly a 0.4% or a 50% increase from where it was when we started a couple of years ago with this current budget. So add $2 million to the project cost, add some more what's called payback, debt reimbursement at 1.16% interest, it starts driving our user charges over $60 a month. And what concerns me is Buckley's already dropped this project one time, and they remember dropping it. So if we have to go borrow too much money to do this project, they might just do it again and say, we just can't afford it, we're not gonna do this project again. So, and you know how it is to convince constituents to pay for something that they're not paying for today. And it's a problem with storm sewer systems. It's only the guy at the bottom of the hill that has a problem. The guy at the top of the hill doesn't get flooded. And so many people say, I don't live in an area where my septic tank is creating any problems that they know of. So it becomes difficult to say you just have to afford this kind of bond. It's a huge project, obviously. So our mission over the next 12 months or so is to try to round up some more supplemental funding in order to help control bids that we're expecting to open about this time next year. The last page, the graphic planned project schedule shows that we started this last round in August of 2022. We're hoping to open bids in the spring of next year and finish construction 2 years later. So that's a quick summary of a lot of sweat and suffering and pain on the part of the village to try to get a grip on providing the service to their constituents that a small community deserves. So the last 2 pages are way too much information, but it just shows there's been some effort to generate the costs that went into this document, which we feel is anemic right now.
Donna's going through it. They just went from, their water plant was a mess. Donna, we helped them out at the beginning. Wish we were here at the beginning, begin with. But they're actually from 12 PSI up to 50 or 55 PSI now, so we're happy to see they're doing well. Clifton did this project. They're doing well. Span's connected on the Cape Key, which I'm not proud of, but that's what they decided to do. But basically here today to say anything you have that's there, we'd be happy to have, correct?
Yeah, we could certainly justify needing it. You know, this project is going to cost more than what you see in front of you, and I'm fearful that it might be as much as 20%.
And this is something that I've never done before, and I just mentioned to Donna, is can the county's revolving loan help out in this situation? John, is that available? That can be done, or no?
I don't know that, it all depends, we have an application pending right now that would
Right.
probably, if granted, would consume pretty much all of that money. And that fund is, the purpose of that fund is to fund projects in the private sector that will create and establish more jobs in the county. So that also is not really what the purpose of
Yeah,
this is.
I had a question on that one, I didn't know for sure.
We can borrow all the money that we need from EPA, but it all involves paying it back.
Right.
And so that affects monthly sewer bills.
Don's doing the same
And
thing.
debt service.
I think we're all able to help them out with the pump house, like I said, the water tower was, the gentleman before them ran the maintenance, ran a false program, and basically you stick your hand in the water tower and block green slime. So they had to get that reversed for the people. That's a mess.
And ultimately, these are the types of projects, this makes me sad because I wish we could give it all to you and help you out. The sad thing is the bottom line, we got it left. But these are the types of infrastructure projects that make Iroquois County and Buckley and all our small towns more desirable. And 45 years ago, when I moved to Iroquois County, I was in Milford, and they said, you've done work for Milford.
Good.
They didn't have a sewer plant, and I was appalled because in the second grade, and I didn't come from a city, that was one of our field trips, was to go visit the sewer plant, and I'm like, you don't have a sewer plant in 1976, you don't have a sewer plant here. And I wish we could just say, hey, we're here, we're on your side, because we are. Of course, you're hearing this everywhere.
Exactly.
We don't have the money left to give you that money. So, okay, nothing else.
I mean, it's a great project, it'd be great for Iroquois County, but the money just isn't there. If there is anything that we come across or have, we'll let you know. I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, just being straightforward with you.
And I'm sure you know about every grant available, every you know,
And you
about.
are connected with Angel on emails?
Yes.
Yeah, we're, currently doing a community survey to try to qualify for a DECIO grant. That's another $500,000. But first you have to show that 51% of your constituents are low or moderate income, and then they will consider looking at your application, and they only fund 1 out of 4. So it's not as if it's.
So even if you are, you still got a 25% chance. to get it.
Yeah, only got a 1 in 4 chance. So we haven't given up. I mean, the Mayor Shockley and his wife Peggy are just digging and scrambling and trying to do everything within their power, to help to fund this project so that they can take, a sigh of relief and say, we were successful finally.
So just out of curiosity and to learn something more about the county, in Buckley, you either have a septic tank or nothing.
There's still
Richfield
flowing.
correct.
You can, well, quite a few people are, but there is an alternative that runs $20,000 to $25,000 a household, and it's often referred to as an aerated septic tank. When what it really is a miniature treatment plant. So what Buckley has to do to treat all of the wastewater from town, every little homeowner has to build a miniature of that, provide air to it 24/7, and sample it twice a year and report to EPA that it's properly being maintained and operated so that it's not polluting the state. So basically, that's not a very cost-effective way of keeping folks that have some money and a conscience, are trying to do that. And there may be half a dozen homes in Buckley that have done that. But most folks can't afford to do that, particularly with private financing, that it doesn't approach the public options.
Any other questions?
I think this is something that we can look at on a county-wide basis, as other communities in this county face with the same dilemma. I wonder if there's some way, I don't know if you've approached anybody at the federal level or state level for other forms of money.
Sure.
Road grant.
For the last several years, we've been writing Duckworth and Durham, they send out solicitations. Do you have any good projects that we can earmark on the federal level? So we've been keeping them apprised of where we are. Unfortunately, it's kind of a numbers game, when you get to that level. And Buckley just doesn't have the kind of roads that attract a lot of interest. I think it's the harsh way to say it. In any event, we haven't received any positive responses.
Maybe it's on a county-wide basis, something that might get more attention.
Yeah, I would say that it
Other
differentiates.
communities in the county
Every
really have
community,
the same dilemma.
every community does. And I would say that the differentiation for Buckley, they've been chasing this for 40 years. They're ahead of everybody else, trying to reconcile and resolve this problem. Now, if somebody else wants to get in the same position as Buckley, then I think that they can certainly approach the board. But if you're looking for a reason why you have, you can't say yes to everybody, but maybe to Buckley, we've been at it for a long time, and way ahead of the march to get this done when you look at the phases that you have to go through to get to where we are now. So we're pretty close, but we're just not there.
Anything would help.
Is there any way to make a plea with the state of Illinois? This Rebuild Illinois grant, which you qualified for, is there any option there to go back and say, listen, we just we're behind a rock in a hard spot. This is,
Yeah, when the governor announced that Rebuild Illinois program, he said he would fund it for 5 years, and we're now in the third year, so there's only 2 more years where there will be funding available, and we certainly can ask for more money, you know, at that point in time. But it's kind of the dilemma that you guys are facing. If they've already given us, you know, a chunk of money, how do they tell everybody else in the
but
state
they
that they're
probably
gonna do
need
it
it
again?
for you.
Yeah, so it would probably raise some eyebrows, you know, if they gave us any more money, but it's certainly worth a try.
Worth a try, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know until you try.
Yeah, well, exactly, and
Well,
we have a responsibility to look for that money.
and I can't speak for everybody on the committee, but at least for me in the beginning, it's easy, it's enjoyable almost to be able to help villages and people and businesses and give them. But now, we're at the end too, and it's getting painful. And today, what you present makes it especially painful,
Yeah.
because I wish our circumstances were very different here, so that we could help you. I'm sorry.
Like I've said 3 or 4 times this meeting, you and I are only worth $78, but you know, over in Ukraine, each person's worth over like 1.8 million. That's how much money we're sending away. I get a little frustrated about that. Our federal government sucks. There's a lot of things I could go into about a lot of stuff going on, but I see it just blows my mind away that the county just gave themselves a huge raise, all the employees, all their leaders and politicians just gave themselves another 40% increase in funds. And you have this, which the whole county gets, but there's nothing we can hardly do to help anybody. But I will say something like this is higher on the list.
This is a need
Right.
versus a want.
Right.
This is a bona fide need.
Well, we
So-
appreciate your taking the time to listen to us.
Well, the nice thing is, it's not helping out, it's one person's helping out a large number of people, and that's what this was supposed to be done for. So, thank you for coming in. I don't have any more questions, anybody else? Thank you.
I just would like to say one thing, that if there's some way that the county through endorsement or whatever other activity that we can help, we're more than willing to do that.
To get on board more.
If it involves writing some letters to support this, if it involves contacting, you know, we have a new representative in Congress, and that's one person, may be willing to help out too, I don't know.
What would be that name? What, is it a woman?
Yeah, her name is Robin Kelly.
My wife and I are trying to get an appointment to go down and see her.
Okay.
And we didn't come to blood or anything like
Yeah, right.
that. She's out of Danville.
No.
She's out of Chicago,
Yeah.
but she has an office in Denver.
And, okay, that's
I
what
don't know if she'll be there personally.
She's out of Washington most of the time.
I've met with her in her offices in Washington a couple of years ago. She seemed willing to be helpful, but whether that translates into results, I can't tell you. Words are cheap.
Well-
We were told we might have a little bit more luck with her than Dick Durbin and.
That's why I'm suggesting that you do that.
John, could you just actually do a letter and say that the ARPA committee and the county supports them, and give it to him so he could hand deliver it to her? I mean, it just seems like so little, but
Yeah, I
Can we do
mean,
that?
we can certainly do that. I don't have a problem with that. Actually, I would like to see us do something on a countywide basis, because we have other counties and other communities in the county that are in the same boat. Luckily, there's ahead of them, that's fine, but we all need to be fixed.
Well, we're plowing the road for
You can't have these septic systems forever.
No, you can't have
Somehow or other, you get to the end of the road.
people's roads.
And you want to get the problem solved before you get to the end of the road. I understand.
Yeah, my septic was fine, but my neighbor's was not. I had the one with my wife. Wasn't nice.
Ours at our house, we have repaired ours. And ours is fine too, but it's all around us.
But even repairing it, it's still, you're still gonna be seeing the road, you know, living in a rural area is a lot different than living in a community that's built.
Or too close.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I can see about putting a letter together, I can get it to the mayor, I guess.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a happy Fourth.
Thanks for coming.
There it is. I'm trying to find 112.
What are we doing now?
112, First United Methodist Church of Watson. Do you have this one, 112 here?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I don't have 112. It should be on this packet today. I don't have it. That's not fine.
Your bacon copy?
Does everybody not have it, or just
I
all?
have it.
Okay, I'll make you a copy.
I've got it. You probably did what I did with my agenda a minute ago.
Stuff that's on.
Couldn't find it anywhere. Well, he's right, he doesn't. I don't know what he did with it, but,
I'll make you a copy.
I'm not hungry, but I'm not that
well,
hungry.
here, you can look at mine.
That's fine, we got it here.
Okay.
First United Methodist Church of Watsika,
Is anybody here to represent?
nobody's here to represent them,
No, we
$48,280.
just wanted to look at their application, we didn't want anybody to come today.
Yeah, it's talking about the south wall
They have one bid.
and the food pantry, so, okay, well, obviously they'll need a second bid. We can ask for that. Find out how much. Who's here for too long? Let's say. They got too long. And I know we've talked about the churches, because there's a, ongoing with Angel, there's a program they could apply for. So I would refer them to the program to apply for. $48,280. Do you have it?
No.
You don't have it either? You ain't got it either.
Yeah, I guess I got it on the list.
But do you have it in here though, or no?
No.
You ain't got it either.
Just the men didn't get it.
Shocker.
You know, the hard truth is we don't have the money to give them. So instead of having them jump through the hoops of getting another bid, why don't we just simply refer them to
John,
Angel?
I'm great with that.
John,
But of note is, this is out of Kentland, but here's another company that's doing tuck pointing from Kentland, Indiana. So we can just tuck that away.
Well, I'll send an application to Angel and have Angel reach out to them like I did with the church in
Thank you.
Shelton.
That works.
That's what I did with the last one.
But we got a tuck point, so that's a good thing, because we didn't before. You know that.
You know, I think we had another
We
application
did.
from the Watsika Church for handicap bathrooms or some new roof. And isn't there one from an ARPA or a Gilman? Yeah. What, can we also refer those people to Angel?
So just all of the churches.
All
Yes.
churches, let's get them on the list and refer them to Angel with a nice note that says, probably that we're unable to fund your project due to funds, whatever, but we suggest, because money's available through the blah, 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 blah grant program.
Application 38, St. Paul Evangel.
I'll just give it.
Okay, that's fine.
Why does food pantry just now have
You don't
this
wanna
up?
hear me talk.
We gave, is that the
You
one?
won't hear me.
No, we gave it to the other food pantry on the main street. This is a different one.
Well, where is that?
Almost on
It's the
top.
bread basket, this is the
Right.
Watsika area.
Oh, okay.
She just dropped it off this morning, so I don't have it on your master list yet.
Is this is the food pantry at the Methodist Church, isn't it? So,
That's this church, but it's the food pantry.
right.
Yeah, it's, yeah, not through the church,
Not
they
through
don't
the
pay
church.
any of the employees, they're all volunteer.
$75,000, what do we wanna do?
Yeah. There's no way.
Well, this says there's their 501c3, and this is the households and the service. But where does it say what they want the money for?
They're just saying the reason for funding is because the households we served increased.
I
They're saying
believe,
food
Oh,
inflation.
here.
I believe they wanted to purchase food and stuff for the pantry. Food and stuff.
I would say you're probably right. It definitely says, basically, I'll go through if you want me to. The number of households we serve increased since the beginning of the pandemic. It's now 771 households in the first 6 months of 2023. Food inflation reached 4-year high in 2022. I think we're all feeling that. Donations to Let's Get Food Pantry have decreased. Increasing volume necessitated the purchase of an additional 49-foot freezer in 2023. So they've already bought one.
Well,
A freezer, yeah.
Is the fact that they are serving more households tied into the fact that we can't find people to work?
Also talking with her on the
That's a
phone.
Yeah.
separate study, John.
It's a good fun. Yeah, it's a good one now.
Also talking with her on the phone, she mentioned the SNAP, that supplemental SNAP benefits, was taken away. So that's also increased the number of people that they're serving. I don't remember when that stopped.
And they're part of the Eastern Illinois Food Bank program, Eastern Illinois Food Bank.
I'm not sure.
So,
It's confusing too. They have not applied for funding. Up here, they asked for COVID-related funding.
Well, she asked
Have
me
you
about if
received
she should report, cause the church got some PPP money. But it wasn't for any of the food pantry, they're two separate, all the food pantry workers are volunteers, so.
it's a 501, the food
Right.
It's a
pantry is
501c,
a
yes.
501.
Right, so I told her that since she's filing under the food pantry, I didn't necessarily need to know the PPP information as it was for the church.
So basically, they want to buy supplies,
Yes.
$75,000. Well, I know that there is a letter that goes out, started maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, annually. It might have rankled me a little bit because Milford has a food pantry you can only go to like twice a year. So a lot of people are going to Watsika. There was a letter went out to all the churches to support this food pantry. And I'm like, well, what about our deal here?
Right.
You're conflicting. Well, I wasn't heard, and we still do a special offer, and I think in December sometime we did for them. Or, yeah. I don't know.
I'm gonna deny it on $75,000 that we do not have at this point.
Funding and available.
Yeah.
If they're getting their food for the Eastern Line, that food bank, they're having to pay for it.
Sure.
And if they went to the Midwest Food Bank in Bloomington, they'd get it for free.
Can we tell them
Tell them that.
Seriously.
I mean, it's a fact.
Why don't we email them that and tell them funding from us is not available? We don't have $75,000.
Funds on.
Is everybody okay with that? I'm not over speaking everybody else.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
fine
fine
with
with that. I just don't know that there's any way that
Do
we
you
get
think
some.
at your next working meeting,
We
you guys
can-
could come up with like a draft letter? that we
Just
could
send straight out to all of them?
Send to those that you
That'd
are
be fine.
telling that there is funding available for whatever reason you choose.
That would be great.
Please, thank you.
With exhausted.
Yeah,
Funding is,
exhausted.
well, yeah.
That would just make it easier.
You don't have to necessarily.
I get what you're saying, ladies.
You don't have to, yeah.
Because you're
just-
getting all
just
the phone
something.
calls.
You could draft a
Yeah.
letter.
Jill and I are getting the phone calls, and that would just make
I
it
know.
easier on us.
In fact, I think at the end, we should do a letter to all our remaining applications to close the thought that, well, maybe we'll hear something yet. Even the people that have never shown up to support their application. Like, it's over.
Send a letter.
Well, they sent something to us and put something back.
I don't have one 12
That's
I'll do it. Even though we're gonna do something different with it.
right.
We just got on the revolving list, number 92, the Iroquois County Morgue. Did anything else get said in management?
No, we are, John, you answer.
Still in the process of pursuing it. A meeting we just had a few minutes ago and got more optimistic information there as well, so,
Like what?
looks like just a matter of going through the process.
Okay.
So what's the next step?
But I outlined at the management committee meeting this morning is getting a surveyor to come over and examine the site over here by the maintenance shed and determine if that's, can be gotten out of the floodplain so that we can proceed with that location. And then we can't get it out of the floodplain, we get a letter of amendment from FEMA, and that's basically getting it out of the floodplain.
All right, moving on, hazard pay for the county employees.
Didn't you skip one?
No.
Oh, he wasn't here. See, this, I've still got this one pulled out, 113. This one's gonna bother me too because we tried to do something for all the townships.
Oh, Ridgeland.
Yeah,
Now we're waiting on him. He's gonna be.
He called, he left me a voicemail this morning, and he's having a hard time getting another bid. So he just wanted to keep me updated.
Oh,
that
Ridgeland?
he's- Yeah,
No, he's looking,
Falta,
yeah, I spoke to him about the neighbor's building that he uses and rents.
okay,
he was looking at.
Quote unquote, she
purchasing
has to,
another
she has
site.
to.
maybe I misunderstood what
She
he was
has,
talking
okay,
about,
so she
but,
has to sell, but she's having problems selling, she's hard to make up. So he's working with her to get a price. That's all there is right now.
yeah, so
It's
it's still in
The
progress.
plan is it's gonna be way cheaper to do that for him, and pay for the building than it is to put it new.
And he explained that, but by the time he gets here,
I know, that's what I keep telling him,
It'll be gone.
so. Hazard pay to Iroquois County employees, we'd like to keep that revolving on next month's also, even though it's a working.
yeah.
And we'll have nothing on next month's agenda except going through a working meeting, so nobody will be invited. Anybody have any questions with that?
Want me to keep though the morgue and hazard pay?
Yes, please.
What's the date of our next meeting?
Because I'm gonna be up north and I'd like to go further north, but I'm gonna come back for the meetings and then go north. All in one day.
Think about August first.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
What's the
August
date?
8th is the county board.
Calendar,
Is it July 31st?
If I can read the calendar.
Is that the 7th?
Yeah, July 31st is Monday.
Yeah, the 7th.
July 31st at 10 a.m.
Although I'm not gonna be here.
Wow.
I'm gonna be in Missouri.
Well, you know what? If I didn't come home, I guess you'd still have a quorum, but
I'll have to just go through and take out the absolute no ways and send them. And in the meantime, but don't want to have too many people coming to the meeting, but where is the tax special meeting? I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry.
In July.
July 12th.
July 12th.
You have tax zoning committee special meeting July 12th at 9:30. That will be for the presentation of debt net.
what day is it? 7/12, what day is it?
Wednesday.
So that's the day after the county board meeting.
Yes.
We don't have PhD on that day, do we?
No,
I have
that's
it on
it.
here.
That's on the
All right.
It's gonna be the 5th,
I don't know why I put it on here.
because I sent it to you and told you it was the 12th.
Oh,
So we've got new applications, just, I think, well, we need to work, but I did some rough math here with the amount that's on today's. And then with application 30 and 130 and 131, and the employee applications and the morgue, we're at like $80,000 that we have to spend.
Depending on if this is the direction we're going to go.
If,
That's new. And also if this Morgan is different, if what's that going to cost?
you want this back?
I guess.
Because
Oh, I know. And these are educated guesses, just so you know that. But you gotta remember, DevNet is for the whole county, not for,
yeah, that's a great idea. But I'm gonna show you something bigger than that. When we get out our little pie charts. When we talk about looking at the big picture, you're talking about DevNet, you guys will do. But when I look at county services, out of the 5.2, this disturbs me.
you go to Fort County, they did 100%.
Well, but we're not Fort County, and we didn't decide to do that, so that's irrelevant. We
So is
decided to
this.
do it a different, what do you mean?
That's
This is
irrelevant. Because DevNet's choosing. Possibly.
That's exactly my point, Paul. That's exactly my point. That is disturbing to me that we've already taken 39%, we're looking at adding to that percentage for county services. That disturbs me. In an equitable pie chart, this is what has gone to government. That's my point when we look at this. And then I also like to look at this and see what's going on here too. Look at, Buckley did get some money, Lotus got nothing, Bonneville, Wilmington. You know, so we're talking about another big fat chunk going to county. and I was here when DevNet first came. And I don't remember. I think individual county elected officials kicked in, and I'm not sure, I'd have to look, I'd have to go ask, I think Brian's probably the only one left here that would recall that. Well, Bob, you're going to, but I think he's gone today. Today, he's done,
Yeah, it's in August, that's August.
Oh, I thought he was done July 1. It's good to see the tax goes down. No. Yeah, because that's good.
Right.
So that's up there, and then we get 132 and 133, and I don't know, are these even applications?
This one, not worried about it.
We're
on the same boat.
giving them funding.
Exactly.
Can we move on?
Oh, if you want to.
All right, do we have any old business? Any new business we want to talk about? Can I get a motion? Can I get a second? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Meeting adjourned.